Namaste, welcome to Buddha's teaching. Today we are talking about the mind of the Buddha. I know it's not possible for us to understand the mind of the Buddha in totality, at least anyway, because the Buddha has very special, very advanced mind that none of us can reach, because the Buddha was able to see many things through wisdom eyes that we cannot, that is beyond our ability, beyond our capacity. But there are parts of Buddha's mind that we can see, that we can refer to, that we can use as like a yardstick so that we can compare, we can see how we are doing, right? So the Buddha's mind, as we all know, he was liberated, right? His mind was liberated. He had reached enlightenment. His mind become enlightenment, fully enlightened, meaning truly broke through the truth, the universal truth of the ultimate reality. Okay, so the Buddha's mind is completely liberated and completely at peace, completely clean. Okay, so what does that mean when the mind is completely clean, completely eradicated of all the defilements, right? Of all the unwholesome and also wholesome deeds that we often refer to, right? That we do good deeds and all that. But for the Buddha's mind, that mind is also clean of all the wholesome and unwholesome deeds. Okay, both, not just unwholesome deed, but it's totally, completely clean. So it's a mind that is pure. Okay, that is not tainted. It's clear. It's not white. Okay, it's clear, right? It's totally transparent. So the Buddha's mind is liberated, right? So that part we can look at. What does that mean when we say that the Buddha's mind is is completely liberated? It means that the Buddha's mind does no longer had greed, right? No longer had desire, no longer had hatred, jealousy, right? Sadness, envy, depression, worry, and all that and on top of that, not just the unwholesome mental activity, the wholesome activity is also eradicated, which means that the Buddha does not jump with joy if somebody praise him. Okay, he did not become happy if somebody want to give him money, right? Food, or even power, or anything at all. His mind remains at peace. his mind is already full, so his mind did not need any of those things, wealth, popularity, fame, or anything like that, that we as an ordinary human being, we become very happy, very joyful, very elated, right? If we, receive, let's say, a lot of money, inherit a lot of wealth, or we, hit the jackpot, we become famous, we become powerful. These are the things that for us normal human being, which is we call the being with defiled minds, are happy about. Okay, but for the Buddha's liberated mind, none of that disturbs the Buddha's mind, right? The mind that does not crave for anything else, for any fame, any fortune, right? Any praise or anything. The bad mind is totally complete, right? So it's both. It's not just unwholesome mental activities. Even the wholesome activity is also eradicated. So it's at peace. But the mind does have something special, which we call compassion, right? Metta, compassion, and empathy. That has nothing to do, with our emotion of being happy or anything. The Buddha did have compassion, okay? Did have understanding, have kindness within the heart, okay? But it's a heart that is not attached, but the heart that has offering, right? The heart that is willing to help. If anyone, if people look for help, okay? So that is the mind of the Buddha. The mind of the Buddha does not react, okay, to the different phenomena, to the different experiences that the Buddha went through during his living moment. Remember that the Buddha was a human being, right? Just like every one of us, which means that the Buddha had a mind. The mind that is comprised, that is arise out of the six senses, just like we do, right? We all have six senses, or most of us anyway, right? We have vision, we have the eye sense, we have the ear sense, right? The nose sense, tongue sense, the taste bud, right? And the physical sense. And sense number 6, which is called citta, or the mind sense, the central CPU, as I often refer to. The Buddha also had 6 senses, just like us. In that scenario, the Buddha and us, we are at the same level. We have the same 6 senses. Now the difference is that the Buddha's mind is calm. So for us, the mind always change, right? Our mind always fluctuate. It's not calm. Our mind react. Our mind jump. Our mind, go all over the place based on what we experience through our 5 senses. Okay, so that's why in the teaching, the Buddha teaches that let's seeing be just seeing. For most of us, we don't just see. We see, and we also have emotion, and we also develop some kind of craving, some kind of idea, some kind of opinion toward what we see. Okay, so for example, if you sit by yourself, let's say you are by yourself meditating, in a calm place. If when you have your eyes open, you see trees and you see a different color, you see butterfly, you see birds and all that. Okay, and you develop some kind of emotion, some kind of attachment to it. We most of us, we do that. We become attached to what we see. Okay, be it the tree or beautiful flowers, okay, beautiful birds, or whatnot. We develop some kind of attachment. Now, if we happen to be in the city, we happen to be in the market, we happen to be in school, at work, in the mall, wherever, when we see material things, we develop craving, we develop longing, we develop attachment. Okay, while the Buddha's mind, the Buddha just see, but the Buddha have no attachment, no longing, no craving, or no hatred, no anger toward the Buddha see. That's the difference between the Buddha's mind and our mind. Our mind do all kinds of evaluation, okay, making judgment, making opinion, right, and so on and so forth, and we develop emotion based on that. Now, also, of course, we have five senses. When we hear things, we hear noise, we hear music, we hear voice of different people, voice that make us angry, voice that make us happy, voice that make us upset, voice that trigger our past memory, that bring up emotion. Okay, all kinds of different kinds of voice, different kinds of sound that trigger our memories, and our memory generate emotion, right? For example, you are walking, you are driving, you hear something, you hear some sound, you hear somebody talking or having conversation, and it triggers your memory. And the memory, if it's about something good, then it triggers happy emotion. If it's something not good, it triggers either anger, angry emotion, or sad emotion, and so on and so forth. For the Buddha, hearing, just hearing. The hearing mechanism the Buddha had is just like what we have also. The Buddha hear what people say, but that's all the Buddha, that's all the mind of the Buddha did. The Buddha hear people say, and the Buddha had no emotion or anything back. The Buddha does communication based on the content of what the person say, and then reply back with the facts, reply back with the truth, but without any emotion going out also, right? Because there is no emotion reason within. The mind, the Buddha's mind, is already pure, and it's already, or also we can say that it's fortified, which means nothing can penetrate to disturb that mind. The mind is I wouldn't say protected, but it's the mind that is strong, but also it is not it cannot get tainted by the different experiences through the five senses, right? That's what I'm trying to say. The same thing through the nose sense, right? The smell. When we smell things, we smell food, we smell fragrance, right? We smell perfume, or we smell some kind of odor that is not good, things like that. We have all kinds of emotion. Okay, the same thing with the taste, the sense of the taste bud. Good food, bad food. Okay, salty, sweet, and all that. The Buddha, don't be mistaken that the Buddha did not know if the food tastes good or not. Of course, the Buddha know. When the food tastes good, the Buddha know that the food tastes good. Okay, when it's salty, yes, the Buddha know that it's salty. But that's it. Okay, it does not affect the mind, the sixth sense, right? The sixth sense has no anger rising from, let's say, eat something that does not taste good, or somebody did something that not to the liking and all that. There's no such a thing, right, for the Buddha. That's why the Buddha, when goes do the arm rounds, the Buddha accept anything and everything, right, as food, and the Buddha would just consume that as it is, right, without discrimination. Okay, the taste bud does recognize the sweetness or the salt, or the sour and all that. Good food tastes good or whatnot. Yes, the tasting mechanism is still there, right? But there is no emotion to those different flavors. The same thing with the body, right? The physical body. The Buddha's body, or it's the same as our body. Okay, when it's cold, the Buddha knew also that it's cold. When it's hot, the Buddha also knew that it's hot. And if something had to be done, then yes, the Buddha also had to do something. All right. If it's cold, then yes, the Buddha had to find something to keep the body warm. But that has nothing to do with the emotion. Unlike most of us, a lot of us, we don't just go find things. Okay, when it's cold, okay, we, instead of just finding another shirt, another jacket, there are people who ask why a lot, right? Or why it's so cold, why it's so hot, why this, all kinds of complaining and whining. There's no such a thing in the Buddha's mind. So that's what it means that the mind of the Buddha is pure, is clear, is tranquil, and it is complete, right? The mind of the Buddha does not need anything to make it to even make it happy, because a complete mind, right, is the mind that's already at peace, right, that is already contented, and the mind does not need anything else to make it peaceful, to make it contented, because it already is. It's already 100% full. Okay, but for most of us, okay, we are very craving. We crave for different kinds of sensual experiences to make us happy. Okay, so with that, so this is very useful for us to use this as our own yardstick, as our own measurement, as for our own benefits, right? To compare. In this scenario, we can compare. Okay, when we are in a certain situation or something, or we are observing our own mind. Okay, it's all about being about mindfulness, as about awareness of our own mind. Okay, we observe, see what our mind is doing at every moment during our activity, daily activities, from one moment to the next. Okay, when we see people, different people, doesn't matter where, how, what goes on in our head. Okay, what is the head thinking? Okay, what goes on in our mind? What is our mind thinking? Okay, and when we see that, and we can see that, oh, the Buddha's mind is not like this. Okay, my mind jump, right? Think about this, think about that, all over the place, versus the Buddha's mind, but is calm, at peace, no reaction to it. And with that, we can say, we can practice, we can learn. Okay, so I have work to do, right? We're telling ourselves that, oh, my mind just go this way, just go that way, by seeing that person, by seeing that object, by seeing the different scenery, whatnot. My mind just roll, right, and just goes off thinking about all kinds of things, right, due to attachment, due to memories. When we hear things, right, then there it goes, right, the mind goes there. And we have, and of course, the mind has one incredible tool that is called imagination. The mind is very good imagining things, making up stories, right? And that is that has a good side to it, and also not good side to it. So now, this what I have talked so far is only beneficial to people, to the practitioner who is practicing Buddha's teaching, who understand is that by going the Buddha's way, bring in peace, bring in true happiness to oneself. Those are the people who would want to practice this. Okay, because if people do not see the benefits of having Buddha's mind, then people would not do it. People will say, no, I think my happiness is there, having a lot of money, and then you jumping with joy. Now, there's nothing wrong with, there's nothing wrong with having money, okay? But if we are lost in the money, then that's where it's wrong. But if we happen to have to come upon a lot of money, okay, through whether inheritance, through business, what we call the wholesome business, okay, the business that we do without killing, without stealing, okay, or from the job that we work, okay, due to the special skill, and then we can earn a good sum of money. That is fine, okay, that is fine, because that is what the work is paid for. But when we become greedy, that is a difference, right? Because when we become greedy, because we all know that the reason of all of the suffering in human mind, in the world, is based on greed, right? Based on greed, based on desire. Greed, the greed are greed for money. After we have money, we have greed for power, right? Or we have greed for popularity. And as we know, these are the source of suffering, okay, which a lot of people do not see that. So for people who do not see that greed is the source of suffering, they would not be benefits from this talk, okay. This talk will go over their head just like that, not understand, and that's the way it is. But if people can see that greed is the source of suffering, if people can see that anger is the source of suffering, if people can see that ignorance is the source of suffering, then people would seek to steer themselves away from those three poisons, right? So it only for those people who seek to find way away from the three poison, that they can practice this, they can benefit from this kind of teaching, okay. And of course, with this, on top of the other lesson, the other three important lesson in the teaching, which is impermanent, right? And of course, again, suffering, right? Anicca, dukkha, suffering, and then non-self, anatta, right? Those three also can help the practitioner, the one who want to steer themselves away from suffering. Those are the ones who will benefit. Those are the ones who can begin to see the Buddha's mind and begin to see that their mind can become like the Buddha's mind, and getting the mind in the right direction, getting the mind walking in the right direction, on the right path, away from the unwholesome activities of the mind that crave for sensual pleasure, crave for sensual experiences. So these are the things that we as practitioners can use, can keep in mind, right? What is my mind is doing right now? What is my mind is doing when I'm looking over there? When I hear things, what is the mind doing? When you go on social media, you look at things, you see political events, all kinds of injustice going on. How does the mind react? Okay, How does the mind react? These kind of things, and then you can sit back and ponder, okay, what would the Buddha's mind does if the Buddha see the news today? Okay, if the Buddha sees what goes on today, how would the Buddha react, or what would the Buddha do? Okay, so this is the things that we can refer to. Okay, and with that we can steer our own mind toward the Buddha's mind. Okay, this is the practice, this is the path, this is the way for practitioners to go, right? For the ones who can see the benefits of practicing to walk that way. Okay, so that's what I like to share with you all today, the Buddha's mind. Hopefully you can benefit out of this one. Until next time, if you have any comment, any opinion, any suggestion, please drop me the line in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to talk about it. Again, your question is the fuel, right? For discussion is the fuel to make us all better in walking the Buddha's path. Until next time, I like to pay respect to the Triple Gems. I like to pay respect to the Buddha. I like to pay respect to the Dharma. And I like to pay respect to the Sangha. Namaste.